Research into eternal life began with the idea of body swapping. Since ancient times, men have been driven by the thought of finding out how women feel. Sometime centuries ago in a doctor's office, in a conversation between a doctor and his friend, a hunter, they decided to research body swapping experimentally. Even before there was any evidence, it was postulated that the conscious mind resides only in the brain and nowhere else. Dressage tests could later clarify whether this would actually be the case. Brain transplant. Another doctor joined them. Even before doing any anatomical measurements, the decision was made to cut out an animal's brain with a hot wire and transplant it back into the same animal. According to the plan, transfusions with venous blood and the same K-point factor are to replace the blood loss until the patient has completely healed. But the animals, mostly squirrels, barely survived a minute and then ended up in the stew. It was known that there are two kinds of blood. In addition to the venous, there was also the oxygen-rich blood. Then they experimented with transfusing oxygenated blood from animals with the same factor. With surprising and progressively increasing success, the anesthetized animals and their circulatory systems survived for hours, then days, weeks, and months after their brains were cut out and reinserted. Simultaneously, and far more impressive, have been the successes in resuscitating test animals after various death experiences. After deaths caused by bleeding, suffocation, poisoning and electric currents, the animals could be revived with oxygen-rich blood alone. And they lived on in good health. The experimenters assumed that they had discovered the quality of life in oxygen-rich blood. The advantageous donors could be any mammals and there are only two factors K and point. This panacea had only one downside. It was not storable. This knowledge was quickly used in human medicine. Blood donors, usually sheep, had to be kept alive near hospitals. If necessary, a factor-matching sheep was then sacrificed. The oxygen-rich blood flowed into the patient via direct transfusion. In the case of poisoning, one was cured in a few minutes. Complicated and longer surgical operations could also be carried out successfully, especially in the case of organ transplantation with patients who have experienced death. Of course, the perfectly matching organ came from the animal as well.